All right, so we have the view, right, that we're navigating towards the website list. Let's start working on being able to provide the dynamic content for this list, right? Which right now it's a hard-coded HTML template, right? It's dead ASCII code, right? So let's make it live. All right. So to do that, the only one that can provide data to a view is to have a controller go fetch data from somewhere, right, and provide it and inject it in the view templates, right? So let's create a controller that we can use to do just that. So here we have a controllers. So controllers, right? And let's add a controller here. We'll call it the same name, website list controller dot client, right? And this will be an iffy expression that is going to declare, is gonna load the module that we've been working on, WAM, and is going to declare the following controller, right, for that template. So it's going to call website list controller, and it's going to be implemented in a function of the same name. Okay. All right. So this controller is going to provide the data for the website list, right? So let's create the very basic things that every controller should have, right? We're going to create the model. Yes. We're also going to create a function and an init function, right? Where we're going to put any logic that needs to execute when the controller first load, right? We're going to put it in this init function, right? This is going to make it very explicit what is the logic that we want to run when the controller first loads. Okay? We don't really need the init function, right? It's just that it makes it very explicit to everybody else who's reading our source code exactly what needs to happen at load time. Make sense? All right? Okay, so what should happen when we get here? Well, according to the config, it says that I need to load the websites for a particular user, right? So that means that first of all, the first thing that we need to do is fetch the ID from the route, right? So that we can then go fetch the websites for this particular user, right? So let's parse that out. We're going to use the route params, right? That is responsible for managing all the parameters on the URL, right? The path parameters. We call these path parameters. Parameters that are embedded in the path, right? As opposed to query parameters, right? That might be that are added at the end of the query string. We'll look at those a little later, right? And when would you use path parameters versus query parameters? Right? When we get to server side, we'll make a distinction between the two. Okay, so we're not going to use query parameters just yet. We're just using path parameters. Okay, all right. So path parameters, we're going to fetch those. So let's fetch it right now, and we'll say maybe we can put it inside of the model user ID and fetch it from the route parameters. It's a map. The route parameter is a map, okay, that can be accessed using the square bracket syntax, or if you prefer, you can use the dot notation. Okay, they're interchangeable in JavaScript. They're interchangeable. Okay, there it is. So we have the user ID. Now that we have the user ID, we need to go fetch those websites that belong to that particular user, right? And I believe we've given you from the assignment 3, we've given you a list of websites for particular developers, okay, or for particular users, and it's somewhere down here. They're the users, and here are the websites. So grab these, right? These are the minimum websites, and we're going to copy them right here. So these are websites. Okay? Yes. In the service? Yeah, we'll put it in the servers in a minute. Yes. Yeah. So let's create a function that can given the user ID retrieves the websites and provides them to the model to the view for rendering. All right. So let's do that. Let's create a function that can find all websites for user, right, and takes as argument a user ID. Yes. And what we're going to do is we're going to store all the website that we find. Right. We're going to return all the websites that we find. So we're going to iterate over all the websites, right? And if we find a developer that matches the user ID, that's what we're going to return, right? So notice that each website has a developer ID. So a developer ID is what maintains the relationship between the parent developer and the child websites. Yes? It's like a foreign key, right? This is referring to an ID of a particular developer who created this website. Make sense? That's one of many ways that we can create relationships, one-to-many relationships in data structures. Okay. Another way, as we'll see a little later, is that we can embed all the arrays, all the elements, all the child elements as array elements, right? Elements in an array in the parent object. We could do that too. Okay. That would be the preferable way that you would do it if you're doing an object-oriented language, right? Like Java, right? You would implement many one-to-many relationship in Java by having a parent having a collection or an array of instances of some other class. Yes? Right? And we'll see how to do that as well. Okay? In a classical relational database, the only way you can implement it is to have the children have a reference back to the parent. Okay? But in object orientation, there are different options. This is just one of them. All right, we'll come back to different ways that we can implement this a little later. Okay? But certainly this is a valid way of doing it. So we're going to check here, right, if the websites sub v dot developer ID matches the user ID, then we want that website. Right? We're going to push onto the results. We're going to push the websites sub v. Not sure why I chose v. Right, so I'm pushing all those websites, and that's what is going to be returned, right? The results of all those websites. Everybody okay? Right. So now from the init, we can use this function, right, to go fetch all the websites, right, and bind them to the templates. Pass all the websites to the template. Right, so this is going to be a variable that is bound to the model, the instance of the controller, right? And we can use this function to retrieve them all if we know the model.userid. Yes? Right? If we have the user ID, we can send it to the model, and the model can then render them. Yes? So we can go to the template, and somewhere here, right? Let's put here. Let's see what comes from the controller. Right? We'll say model.websites. Okay? Right? So those should render an array for the particular user that has currently logged in. Yes? Is that what it did? I might have made a mistake. Let's see, public. No, these should be all client. Thank you. Yes, these should all be clients. I was just testing to see if you were listening. Very good. Yeah, these all should be client. View is only for something that is rendering for the user. Okay. Yep. Let's see. So all right. So we have the website list controller, and let's see. Is it configured? It's not configured. Notice that we didn't configure a controller for this template. Let's fix that. Right, this is going to be the website list controller. Yes, right? And it's going to be referenced inside of that template as the keyword model. Yes, right. So let's refresh this. And let's see. Let's close that. Let's refresh. And something broke. Let's see. It says error yada yada controllers. Da, 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 da. Let's see, what does it say? Website list controller. So we might not have. Do I have access to the internet? I do. Name website list controller doesn't seem to have been registered. So somewhere I did not load this. Maybe I misspelled it in the controller. Let's see if I misspelled it. No, that looks right. Did I load it from the index? I probably did not load it from the index. That's a very common error. So let's do that. Let's fix that. Let's load this the file. src views website controllers website list controller. There it is. Okay. Let's try again. Okay, that's empty. Maybe that user doesn't exist and it doesn't have any websites. So let's try using a username that does exist. 123. There it is. So this is a website that were created. I don't remember by who. 123. I don't remember who that is. 234. Notice that changes. 345 doesn't have any websites, and 456 has 3 websites. Make sense? All right. So if we go back and we log in as Bob, right, and then we click on websites, notice that websites is still pointing to website list, dash list, right? What we really want to do is point this to that, to this, right, to 234/website, right, that loads this, right? So let's change that URL from the profile page. So let's go to the profile page, which is, where is it? I don't have it open. Let's open it. So that's under user templates, user profile. There it is. And so down below, right, instead of navigating to a hard-coded website list, HTML document, instead we're going to use the Angular's routing mechanism, right? We want to go user. I'll tell you who the user is, right? I believe I have it stored in model.userid, and I like to go to website, right? The websites for that particular user. Make sense? Again, the template doesn't know where this goes. It is not the template's responsibility of knowing where this goes, right? The mapping is done by a centralized controller. So if I refresh this, okay, let's go back. Let's see. So yes, we logged in as Bob, and if I hover over the website, looks like we're missing the user ID over here, right? So apparently I did not. We might have loaded the user ID 234 because we have Bob and the first name Bob, so we definitely have the user ID, but apparently we never bound it to the model, right? So for the view to be able to have access to it, right? So let's fix that. So let's look at the controller for the profile. Let's see, do we have the profile controller here somewhere? Apparently not. There is the controller, profile controller. There it is. So yes, we are loading user ID, but let's add it to so that it's available in the view, in the templates, right? So model.userid, and fix this like that. Oops. Model.userid. Okay, let's try it again. Let's refresh, and if we hover over websites, notice that now we do have user/234/website. Yes? So if we click on that, right, notice that indeed we navigated to Bob's website, Chess. If we go as Alice, and I go to websites, I have a different list of websites, right? Go, Checkers, and Tic-Tac-Toe. Yes? Right? Or if I log in as Janunzi, and websites, I have Facebook, Twitter, and Gizmodo. Make sense? So the only part that is missing is actually rendering this on the client, and we'll do that next. Actually, yeah, and then we'll do the service, right? Move it to the right place where it should go.